All right, hey everybody, welcome to a long overdue episode of Business by the Bar. I am Armando with Security Owners Group. I've got Slava, Vidominets?
Vito Minets.
Vidominets. Slava is my marketing guy, so you guys heard me talk probably a couple episodes ago about the four partners that you need in your business, regardless of what you're doing, and marketing is one of them. So, surprise, we're going to talk about marketing. Um, Before I let him talk, I'm going to tell you what I'm drinking. I'm going to drink Johnny Walker Green Label because nobody markets scotch like Johnny Walker. You can always tell what the bottle is by the shape, and you can always tell how good it is by how much glass it's got at the bottom and whether it makes a sound like that when you open it. So that's what I'm drinking. Slava is drinking the only tequila that I have, which is actually pretty appropriate, which is Casino Azul. If you look, there's a hand-blown glass rose inside the bottle, which speaks to how important presentation is. It also helps that the juice is pretty good. So, Slava,
Cheers.
cheers, man. Let's talk marketing.
Absolutely.
All right. We started chatting a little bit before this. Where did we want to take this? What was the final consensus?
I think, when it comes to marketing and storytelling, there's always a couple of different avenues to go. And one thing that we try and educate our partners with is being different, right? Standing out in the marketplace. And you may think to yourself, well, we're selling a product that has a price point. One thing about selling with a price point is that you're going to be able to get undercut. Another vendor might come in that doesn't have quite the overhead that you have every month, and they could just lower the price. But at the end of the day, those are always going to be issues that you have, and you shouldn't sell against price. What you should do is sell against the value that you're going to provide, whether it be the 24-hour monitoring, the ability that they could press a button and call you at any moment, the aspect of we're going to reduce waste monthly, if you will, from you don't need to have an additional security guard, monitoring. We have AI technology in our product that's going to help sense when there's a threat and alert you. So the one thing that we like to talk about with our clients is thinking outside the box, right? Telling your unique story, your unique value proposition, and how do you then create content that follows that principle and guideline?
So, I get that, but I've been doing this for a while, and even I sometimes I'll when I tell my sales guys, sell the value, and they say, well, they got a budget, or this customer's a cheapskate, or whatever the reason is, right? Sales is always going to push back on price. So how do you define value? Because
you need to ask them
right?
what's most important to them, right? Like if it is truly on price, you're never gonna win the argument, in our opinion, about trying to possibly upsell. What I would say again is go back to the feature set, and one thing we talk about is don't discount your price, discount your terms, if you will, or change your terms to match the price. So okay, if it is price conscious, great. We have a system at that price point, but you're not going to get everything that you would, feature wise, as an example, at a different price point. And so it puts the question back on them, right? What is most important to me, my needs, and kind of go from there.
All right. So today I proposed. I try not to do too many sales, but I proposed a camera system for a client, somebody we both know actually, and I had one option that was $23,000, and I had another option that was $38,000. Right.
Sure.
So huge gap in between. The end result is they both do the same thing. They both watch. They both record. They both got the same warranty. They both have the same resolution. But at the end of the day, I broke it down to telling them, here's how this system works from the technology side in layman's terms, and it's got some holes, right? So you're the outside of your property, you're not going to cover it for, you're not going to trigger for the last 20 feet. Well, what's the inventory that's out there, and what's the value of that inventory?
Right.
So that assigns a number to the risk.
Absolutely.
Now the other one is $38,000, so it was like what, $14,000 difference? No, $15,000 difference. But that one has much more advanced analytics. It goes all the way to the end of the property, and that last row of inventory
So how important
is not going to be a risk anymore, right?
How important is that last row?
Right. So most guys will sell and they'll say, well, the value is that it's made better, it's made in the USA, or it's this other thing. Well, none of that has a dollar amount to the end user, right? So I think the secret is to be able to look at that option and say, what is the actual value? I don't think that's something you can teach, right? You got to be able to look at each.
No,
each
it's
side.
just inherent when you're, talking to a potential prospect, and again, pulling out why they need what they think they need. Maybe it's not even what they originally called you for. Once you start diving into the pain points and questions, and the other example. Maybe the $38,000 option was the best option for them, and they probably don't even have a problem paying the additional money if possibly the terms are spread out. Maybe it's a cash flow potential issue, right? So the deeper you dive into it, it could turn out.
So that's interesting. So it's not just marketing is not just the way that you present it in the messaging, but also it goes into the final part of the sale, which is closing. Yeah. So how would you, in situations like in our industry, which you're getting more and more familiar with, probably already more familiar than most marketing companies based on all the interactions that we've had, how do you bake that value into the marketing? Because the marketing is all about the messaging, right? Usually we put the messaging out there to solve a problem, but how do you build value?
You just said it. You consistently put out content that without asking for anything in return. That's the number one thing. I'm not here to sell you. I don't have, anything in front of me. I have information that will help guide you on your path to making a buying decision, right? And so that value could be consistent newsletters or videos along the buying process about the features and benefit that you are selling on, right? Like, so that last row of inventory, right, as you call it, what is the value of that? And you can put numbers to that. So I'm assuming the example might be a car dealership, right? So
yeah, this one is.
So if the field of view in that last row, the vehicles are worth X dollars, and one of them gets stolen, and they have, it's been done before, so they know, I think it might be worth then showing, hey, listen, for $10,000 more, not only are you going to save on insurance, not only are you going to save on headache, your inventory is going to be there. Right? And at that point, maybe it's the switch that happens in that buyer's mind that says, you know what, you're absolutely right. I'd rather pay short term, and Armando, can we even work out terms? I pay this over the course of 60 days.
Or 90. Or
whatever it might be, right? And at that point, you've overcome their objection, which marketing and sales, what I always like to tell people is, marketing and sales are one. It shouldn't be siloed. Your marketing team should consistently be talking to sales and sales to marketing, because sales constantly gets asked questions. Repeatedly the same type of phrase or words, and that is what the marketing team wants to know so that they can create content on those pain points. Right?
And there's nothing more frustrating than, as a salesperson, having marketing make a promise that you just can't keep.
Yep.
Right, and you're just setting the whole thing up for failure, right? The expectations are just way off.
Absolutely.
So, I know how to deal with it from a sales perspective, but when you've got a smaller company, right now in that particular situation, I'm vulnerable as the provider. Now I've got a solid relationship with them. I'm not concerned about that. If this happens in this situation, they'll come back and say, "Hey, Armando, this person came up and gave us this quote. What do you think the difference is?" And I'll lay it out.
Sure.
But there's a lot of lower end equipment that could technically solve the problem, but have all kinds of extra problems that this equipment doesn't have. Could bring in hacking situations or cybersecurity issues. Could bring in warranty and longevity issues. The company itself could not be around 5 years from now, 3 years from now. How do you position this stuff in your messaging so that the lower end of the market isn't stealing away from your market share? Because the owners group, what I hear a lot is, how am I supposed to sell this higher end system for $38,000 or even $23,000 when somebody can come in behind me quote $15,000 because they're working out of the back of their Camry, and walk out the door with a sale, where I know my system's going to be better, I know my solution's better, but how do you take that into the messaging so it's clear, like from the very beginning?
One way that we like to do
Without
that,
sounding like everybody else that says my shit's the best, right? Like
exactly,
my shit's better than everybody else. It means nothing.
So I think one again is showing. Video right now is the most consumable form of content. So if you can show, the potential downside of, we've received X many service calls because of the negative aspects, right? Or the camera was down X number of times because it's not quality equipment. And then if you have reaffirmation from current customers that said, you know what, I am going to trust your judgment. I am going to purchase the more expensive. And then after a certain time period, they come back and say, I made the right choice. I have no problems, no hassles. I haven't had to call you. Right. And then if you have a video potentially of the customer that did buy the lower end one and talks about, you know what, looking back, I think I made the wrong choice.
So video, constant putting content out that isn't salesy. So it's informative, educational, whatever else is out there. It sounds like, one of these is most likely getting your clients on video testimonials is probably pretty important.
Absolutely.
As far as free content, right?
Absolutely.
To push out and validate?
100%.
When's the right time to do that?
Typically, we like to do that 90 days after implementation.
Okay. So before anything breaks.
Yeah, right? And then, after major breaks, even have video content about that. Because it could go two ways, right? They could talk about the service, the rapport that they've created then with the company, or they could talk about, Armando, you were right. I now see why you were recommending the other more expensive system, because ultimately I just paid that with this service call.
Right.
Or from lost revenue or whatever.
And I'll tell you, there's no better marketing for us than shitty service from a different company, right? Like that's number one. Whenever one of the other, insert company name here because I don't want to get sued for libel, screws up a service call, and we get that call, that's our opportunity to shop.
Absolutely.
So,
and at that point is when I would be asking for the testimonial.
Right. I wonder why my marketing guy didn't tell me that yet. He's my marketing guy. So, all right. So content, video testimonials, putting stuff out there, getting a list together. Do you have any preferences on how to contact people on a regular basis? So, somebody becomes a prospect, you don't sell them. So should we be reaching out to them once a week, a month?
We talk about omni-channel marketing because in today's world, it's not linear. They don't see a newspaper ad and then just instantly call. And people are researching. They're going on YouTube. They're trying to figure out if they can save money and do it yourself, right? With wireless type security systems, I'm sure that comes up a lot in regards to wired or PoE type systems. And so how do you create value along that person's journey? So you need to be on all the platforms, and someone might say, okay, do I even need to be on TikTok? Why would I need to be on TikTok? Well, the reality is people said the exact same thing about the internet when it first came out. You were on AOL, then you moved to Google, and then you moved to Facebook, and people didn't believe those were, sales channels. It's about getting your information in front of the most amount of people possible. Again, going back to the silo of B2B or B2C, it is not B2B and B2C anymore. It is P2P. You are talking or trying to have a conversation with a person to person. The technology might be that platform or on a cell phone because that's basically where all the attention is now. Yeah. So if you can create content about the atmosphere, about the culture, people want to go with winning companies. And if you're not producing that from your employees with a winning culture, which is where you could advertise on TikTok, then you've already lost the battle. Really. Yeah.
So I'll support you a little bit here because
a little
bit. I gotta give you some credit. 3 years ago, I didn't even have a Facebook account. All right, and I joined because I was in a mastermind group, and that's how they communicated. And I said, all right, fine, fuck it, I'll do it. I'll get on there. And in those 3 years, not only have I made a bunch of business contacts, but I actually started Security Owners Group from scratch, and it's got I think 400 members now or something, which is a resource for me. So we don't make sales through there, but those are all contacts that that they have access to as well for people who can do sub work, people we can learn from, all kinds of stuff. The other thing is my normal contacts outside of SOG, we've landed 2 or 3 sales because of contacts I made.
Sure.
And I wasn't even trying to push social media. Like, it was really weird. The other interesting thing, one of our members, John Bazik, is on like an acquisition spree. The guy is on fire this year. And I heard a podcast last week about how he started learning about stuff, and he referenced like finding good information on acquisitions on TikTok.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like, where the hell are you seeing? Like, all I see are these crazy meme things, people like farting behind each other in the store and stuff like that, right? So
they're early adopters, right? So we talk about maybe early technology adopters, like when AI came out into certain security systems. There was a subset of people that believe in it and understood how it could help them, and as the technology grows,
the guys who started right off the bat.
It's the ad cost right now on TikTok as a platform. And again, I'm not suggesting that everyone run out and create a TikTok page. I'm just giving the example, right?
Get your camera to twerk.
Right, exactly. Is the audience is spending time, and you may say, is my audience, is my 30 to 50-year-old business decision maker on there? Yes, they are, because they're entertained by the platform. If done correctly, your ad will be shown to the right audience.
Right. Yeah, I think you told me that early on. It's like, it's not whether, whatever your subset of audience, right? If you've done all the work and you figure out your audience is 50 to 60-year-old males with a C at the beginning of their title, right? They're still people.
Yeah.
Right? They're still on Facebook.
They're spying on their neighbors, looking at what their grandkids
they're on Twitter,
are doing,
they're
posting
watching
their
TV,
dinners.
All of that stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So they're still people. And like that to me was just like hugely revelatory, because I thought I needed to be in industry magazines, or I needed to be just in certain groups on LinkedIn, and all that stuff's important. But really, when the ad costs are low, like I hadn't even thought of TikTok personally until last week when John mentioned that on that podcast, and now you're bringing it up, and I'm like, oh shit, we're missing the boat. Maybe we need to be.
I mean, look, the easiest thing that you could do is crowdsource content from your internal team, whether it be the support department, the sales department, and create newsletters. Start, by doing a monthly newsletter, then move into weekly, and then move into bi-weekly, right? And things like that. It's content.
How much is too
newsletter? Every single day, because, it's not a direct-to-consumer product play, if you will, right? But once a week with some tips as an example, or, possible updates if there's firmware updates, and people need to know. So it's value add. And that content then hopefully grows, right? So your subscriber base continues to grow. You get more sophisticated, and you segment it out by either product or customer type, or at that point then you can separate it to residential and commercial, if you will.
Okay. So what is the one thing security companies should always have on the marketing department, whether you are a $500,000 one or two man show, or you're a $25-30 million fully fleshed out operation?
The number one thing is the strategy. Everything starts with a strategy.
So it's like project management, right? The planning is priceless. The plan itself is useless.
Yeah, if you're just throwing darts at a wall, you're going to get frustrated with yourself, because then you're going to say, I spent so much time, or the team spent so much time and money. What was the return? Right. You need an overarching strategy and a true omni-channel strategy. Right. Going back to what platforms, right?
So don't start spending money on AdWords without knowing where you're going with it, right?
Right.
Don't spend money on LinkedIn, or don't start a blog unless you have a plan in place for how you're going to
And honestly, that you can commit to a time frame, right? Okay. Because the internet or marketing, advertising, it's not a light switch. You don't just turn it on and then instantly you're going to get, sales, right? So plan, test, repeat, test again, continue testing different types of content. We have clients that have created content for 2 years on YouTube, as an example, only getting a certain number of views, and then we have our meeting and, I'm frustrated, I want to just quit. Well, it takes time, right? And you will have that breakout moment, and then, suddenly your content is, instead of 200 views, 1,000 views, and then 200, and you get in your groove.
Yeah. Well, and I'm learning real quick with these videos, like, don't plan on monetization because it's not going to come through well.
So the monetization should be the education of, again, your knowledge.
Yeah.
Once people understand that you're an authority in that space, you won't need YouTube monetization, right?
Right.
Because they will come to you and ask you, hey, Armando, what do you think of this? Hey, Armando, can you come quote this? Hey, Armando, I've got a friend, right? We all know referrals are fantastic. And so showing the authority in the space is what you want your content to do.
So I asked you with the one thing, right? For me, the planning is absolutely important, but even more base level than that, anytime you're approaching marketing, you have to have a thick skin.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because
people will tell you, oh, that sucked, or you'll look at your video view with 2 people, oh, I'm done. First video, I'm done.
Sitting here on the bar with the camera on top of the popcorn machine, right? But for what I mean by having a thick skin is you're going to fail.
Absolutely. That's actually the joy that I look forward to.
Because then you have data and you can say, oh, here's what we can do next.
Absolutely.
We can tweak this or do that.
Absolutely.
Right? And sometimes the failure is in such a weird place that you're left puzzled and you spend a week trying to figure out what's going on. We just dealt with that with this event, right?
Yeah.
Like, our open rate is through the roof.
Right? 50 plus open rate on email, but can't get people to.
But you can't get anybody to click on it, right? So
right.
How do you troubleshoot that, right? That's really cool stuff. But the story here, marketing was the first thing I did when I started this company, and it was very close to being the last thing I did, because the day that I started, we had me and the one employee I brought with me had $30,000 available to us to start the company and run it, and I said, you know what, I'm going out. $20,000 on a direct mail campaign. I took 2/3 of the cash we had available. I put it out there, and stupid me decided, oh, you know what? Bars and restaurants are small. They'll have quick hits. They'll come back.
Easy, quick.
Right?
Yeah.
No. They have no money. They're broke.
Right.
So I spent $20,000 on a direct mail campaign. It hit the streets. First week, we got nothing. Second week, we got nothing. Third, fourth week, we got nothing. Finally, in February, because we started in January, I had to admit that I'd just blown $20,000 on nothing.
Yeah, and it happens all the time, right? Because you look at a singular tactic, we call.
And this was before I knew you.
Yeah,
this was
absolutely.
me trying to do this shit on my own.
I wouldn't tell you to spend $20,000 on direct mail, but there are so many different avenues and so many people pulling at you saying, "Oh, geofence or AdWords or direct mail or advertise in this." Industry mag or go to this conference. Well, everything's got to be measured against that overarching strategy. And then even more so, what was the positioning statement? What was the message that you were trying to hook someone, if you will, to come into your, sphere and discuss with you, right? Our goal is to always create conversation. The more conversation, the more that we can pull things out of people to understand really what their needs are.
Right, and then you can use that to take the next step in the conversation and hone it further.
Yeah, the next step for us is deciding, is that the right client even for us?
Right.
Are you going to be, are you my ideal client profile, right?
Yeah,
so
restaurants
as
and
your
bars
example,
is not our ideal client.
Absolutely. You learn that that's not where you want to be or play, right? You also learn residential isn't where you want to be.
Yeah. I just wish I hadn't spent that much money trying to figure that out.
Well, hindsight's 20/20, right? So.
I know, but at the end of the day, right? This goes to one of the other things I talk about is that as when you own and run a business, like you've got to be bullheaded about your determination. Like you can't stop because you've run into an obstacle, because every day is going to be another.
Otherwise, you shouldn't be in business or business owner.
Yeah, it takes a certain special amount, a certain kind of stubbornness, and belief in yourself to pull this kind of thing off. So
absolutely. And again, you have to have a motivated team. They all have to be on the same page, right? So your team also needs to be going in the same path. If you have, a team that doesn't understand the end goal, it's going to be difficult to reach it.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that as well very recently. All right, man. Well, I think we should probably have a drink off camera, and that way we can bitch about people.
Sounds good.
How can people watching this reach you in Strata Blue?
The easiest way is to go to stratablue.com.
Okay. And we talked about video testimonials a little bit earlier. I've been through quite a few marketing companies in the years that I've been in business. And Slava's company, Strata Blue, and all of the people that work there have far and above exceeded all of my expectations. And the beautiful thing is that I don't have to ask for metrics. I don't have to hold them accountable. They hold themselves accountable, and they tell me when things aren't working and what's not working and where we need to change it. And in a couple of cases, they've told me where my sales process is broken, which has nothing to do with them, right? Most marketing companies wouldn't try to fix your problems post lead. Once they provide a lead, their job is done. These guys really take a holistic approach, and I feel like they're an extension of my company. So I would wholeheartedly recommend them, especially if you're in the security space, as long as you're not in the geographic area that we serve. All right. So that's pretty much it. Remember to subscribe if you're getting value out of this, if things are working. Sorry, my scotch is almost at the end, so I'm slurring words a little bit. And check out Security Owners Group on Facebook. There's a free group you can join if you're not already in that. It's exclusive to security company owners, where we talk about all kinds of problems, frustrations, and the good stuff too. So have a great one. Thank you.
Cheers.